Well, I guess the gentlemen are in a pretty tall hurry to get me out of here. The way the evidence is piled up against me, I can't say I blame them much.
For many, the word filibuster conjures up images of the classic film Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Jimmy Stewart, playing Senator Jefferson Smith, holds the Senate floor for hours in order to delay a vote.
And I'm going to stay right here and fight for this lost cause, even if this room gets filled with lies like these. And the Taylors and all their armies come marching into this place. Somebody will listen to me.
But that's Hollywood's rendition. In the 112th Congress, senators were able to obstruct legislation going to a vote without even being on the Senate floor. It's called a silent filibuster. How do you end it? It takes 60 votes to end debate in what is known as cloture. In this graph created by the Brennan Center for Justice, it shows that since 2006, 385 cloture votes have been filed. But that's more than the number of clotures filed in 70 years between 1917 and 1988, illustrating how filibusters have been on the rise. The last Congress was historically unproductive, passing a record low of 2.8% of all introduced bills. These actions or inactions earned the 112th Congress the name the Do-Nothing Congress. It made history a second time when Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell filibustered his own bill. But with a new Congress in session, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid said he wanted to pass filibuster reform.
I think that the rules have been abused and that we're going to work to change them. We're not going to do away with the filibuster, but we're going to make the Senate a more meaningful place. We're going to make it so that we can get things done.
Senator Reid and Senator McConnell arrived at a backroom deal that modestly limits the use of the filibuster. And on January 24th, the Senate filibuster reform bill passed with 78 votes in favor and 16 votes opposed. As part of the bill, the majority, currently the Democrats, can order a debate on a bill without the previously required 60 votes. But both parties must be allowed 2 amendments to any bill. This is a far cry from a proposal presented by Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon and other lawmakers. They called for an end to the silent filibuster and the end to the 60-vote requirement in order to cease debate. After a caucus lunch, Senator Merkley spoke with The Real News. He expressed that critics have mislabeled his reform as an effort to silence the minority.
Anything that I've supported, I'll support in the minority. That was the litmus test. That you can still filibuster an amendment. You can still filibuster the bill. But if you choose to vote for additional debate, then as an individual, you're committing yourself to say, there's more to say. I think there should be a dialogue in front of the American people. I'm going to make my claims, and I have the courage of my convictions to stand before others and do that, stand before my citizens and do it. And they can weigh in on whether they think I'm a hero or a bum.
With Senate Democrats in the majority, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid had earlier warned that he would push filibuster reform legislation without any Republican support. But since he chose not to use this option, some reformers are disappointed, arguing that this modest filibuster reform still keeps Americans in the dark.
Let the American public see for themselves and hear for themselves why you think this bill or this nomination or whatever it is such a bad idea or such a bad nomination that you're trying to slow it down. And let them help judge also. And so you have to explain yourself. And that's one of the big reforms we're looking for.
Shane Larson is the Legislative Director for the Communication Workers of America. They are a part of a diverse group of organization known as Fix the Senate Now. They have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a TV ad campaign to get the public aware of the importance of filibuster reform.
Time in the Senate ticks by. It keeps ticking by with no results because the system is broken. But we can fix it and make the Senate work for us again if our senators vote to end the silent filibuster and for common sense reforms.
Fix the Senate Now was started before the 112th Congress in December 2010, and Democrats still controlled the majority. Larson says regardless of which party is in power, these reforms do not take away the minority party's right to filibuster.
But the filibuster can be used to help slow down legislation. We've seen its benefit over the years. And what we're asking for doesn't take that away. it would still allow the minority to have a right to speak, to have a voice on the Senate floor, and to be able to slow things down. The difference is that you can't just slow things down for the sake of slowing it down, or the silent filibuster that we're seeing. You actually have to take the floor and explain it.
It really doesn't matter which party is in power, says University of Massachusetts Boston political science professor Tom Ferguson. He argues that the Senate was designed to give senators legislative leverage to slow down the passing of bills.
Fundamentally, you could think about the U.S. Senate as the world's most exclusive private club, and in which I remember from my time in Washington when I was an elevator operator, actually, in the Capitol for a while. U.S. senators usually looked like the most expensive tropical fish in the tank. You could tell them immediately when they got on your elevator. And the thing is about senators, because of this ability that one or two of them can just stop everything by talking or filibustering, it gives them enormous leverage. It's effectively close to an individual veto. The Senate was plainly designed as a check on popular power. You could thwart democracy and simultaneously satisfy the small states with that compromise with the two-house legislature. They killed many birds with one stone.
Ferguson adds that though these reforms reinforce governance by a supermajority, there is one major improvement to the new rules.
It's a decision to put some limits on how long you can delay confirmation of lower-level federal appointees and judges. Because you've come virtually to a situation now where the government is often almost paralyzed in the sense that everybody's running around with interim appointments or appointments while Congress is out of session. This is not a great change, and you're still going to have government by supermajority whenever some side really wants it, or at least most of the time.
The next time the Senate will be able to prove how effective these new rules are will be in March. The 112th Congress will be negotiating the highly controversial sequester cuts and the budget resolution. It's then the public will see if the filibuster reform was a total bust. For the Real News Network, Jessica Devereaux, Washington.